what the land use and zoning might be. So we need to send them that information, and urban design is working on that. I also requested that there's a bunch of other properties waiting in the wings that would like to come in at the same time. That didn't get a rosy reception.
From Walmart.
Walmart, they
Right.
may want to handle this on their own, because when we involve the other properties, yeah, there's going to be a lot more administrative work, especially if there's 4 properties involved, and getting them all to agree, it's going to take a little more time. Walmart may not want to do that. The person from Walmart is also checking with Charlotte County to see what rights they currently have, because they very well know that while they're going to retain their rights when they come into the city as a non-conforming use, if something happens or they want to build new, they're going to have to meet our standards. They may not want that. So we have to work through that. So this is not going to happen overnight.
Right.
But they have been given the go-ahead to at least start the process.
Well,
Right,
that's
right.
that's movement in the right direction.
Yeah,
That's
when I
fine.
mentioned the other businesses waiting to go in at the same time, they were reluctant to want to do that, and so I said, whatever we want you to, we welcome you to annex into the city, and we don't want anything to stand in the way. And so we'll work with the other businesses. So,
As this evolves, sure.
mhm.
Very good. Anything else, Nancy?
No, I just wanted to, because we were talking about annexation, I thought it was an appropriate time. I asked Howard, I said, it's an appropriate time just to let you know. It was
That's
a-
wonderful.
It was a yippee moment, you know, when we,
Very good, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, there was one other thing I wanted to mention. Mr. Joe Cuomo bought us a magazine called
Yes.
Florida, and I left it with you, it's called Florida
Fishing, yes.
Florida Fishing, and Charlotte Harbor is featured in the article. as
4
one of the-
pages, 5 pages?
Yeah,
Wow.
Wonderful, wonderful.
great.
another
That's great.
accolade to add to our resume.
That's right. We're getting so many accolades, we're going to have a new website.
So were you asking me though in regard to council member comments?
Yes, I was.
I'm just, again, glad to be here, and, well, there was one other thing I think I might have made note of. In regard to the atelier,
Mhm.
I forgot to mention this, and it was, originally, the building was planned to be built so that the retail space was at base flood elevation. And if you want to see, well, what is the base flood elevation, go into the atelier and look at where the electrical outlets are. Was we had to put the electrical outlets above base flood elevation, so they're like 3 feet up on the wall. So, at the time, the city was working with the owner of the city marketplace property, who was planning on building all the retail space up at base flood elevation. And they were working to trying to get them to build it down at ground level, because that is much more pedestrian friendly. And so there was a decision, I wasn't a part of the discussion, but there was a decision to build the retail space of the parking garage at ground level. So, which required then the floodgating of the doors and that kind of thing. That created, because it was lower, it created more ceiling space so that there could be something underneath what is the turnaround of the parking garage. And so that space probably wouldn't have been available for something had the garage been built as it originally was intended. That said, also, I didn't mention that the artists say they regularly hear the cars driving over the concrete above. And I was also, somebody told me that you can actually, when you're in a class at FGCU, you can actually hear the cars. And so if you say, well, what is it? And then, you know, they say, well, it's the cars. And so, anyway, but that was something
A new tidbit of history there. and
another bit of
information.
tidbit,
Good.
yes.
Very good, thank you. Kim?
I just want to thank you for approving us being involved with the Drug Free Youth Program. It's a wonderful program. It's just starting. We had our first sign-up last week, Thursday, at LA Anger. We are working with Inglewood and Port Charlotte to put this program together. So we're kind of sharing equipment until we can afford to buy our own. So I went over for the first sign-up. We signed up 5 kids at a volleyball game, And that really is a good thing. It's a little bit of a time. Just to tell you a little bit about the program, we go, the kids agree to be drug and alcohol free. They agree to be drug tested. They get a card. We try to get as many discounts for them, prizes. The YMCA offered a free membership for all of the DeFi kids. So that was, that's going to be a big draw. It's just started. We will be having an event here in Punta Gorda, but we're really hoping for, a really nice program. And I think the Y will be a big part of that,
That would
too.
be wonderful.
So I'll keep you posted.
Wonderful.
Thank
Yes,
you.
really great.
Thank you. Anything else for the good of the group here? This is the time now for citizens to come to the podium if you have any comments on anything. Anything.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Bill Hughes, Burnstone Isles, 13 years. Nancy, welcome back, and I do read your newsletter, but the thing on the electric poles that went in on Monaco, I just don't understand how Florida Power and Light can come in and erect all these poles. It used to be a pristine piece of property. Now we have 3 huge cement poles carrying wires, 5 or 6 huge wooden poles. Do they have the right just to come in and do this? Does the city have any say in it? I mean, it's taken away from the entranceway into our community. It's very upsetting.
Well, it's their right of way. They have the ability to upgrade and work on their system in the right of way. They have a franchise fee, so we can comment on them, but they're a private utility that has to operate.
Well, I was just wondering, I don't know how much these poles cost, but to consider going underground, it couldn't have been that much more to take that wire from 41 to Tripoli and leave it underground and then connect underneath and go on the existing poles. I mean, they've just taken that property, it was pristine, and it looks terrible.
Nancy?
Well, I did ask Andy Cole about this, and he provided the Florida statute that gives them the right to do this. I mean, it's a Florida statute that provides them, gives them the right. And having worked for a utility before, I don't disagree with you, Bill, at all. It's just,
Is there any way that we can work with them? I mean, because they'll be doing future kinds of things.
well, I know that
throughout the
Burnstone
county.
Isles Association has had discussion, is reporting tomorrow at their board meeting, and is talking about underground utilities, bringing that back up again. I, with you, like Bill, wish they would have come to the community in advance and said, we're planning to do this, what would you like? That didn't happen because they don't need to do that. And so I guess it is an example of what can happen in our city. And just, warning to other,
Don't
as
we-
our city grows, that's the reason why they're doing this, is because the demands on power from just Burnstone Isles has grown. And so they need to convert Monaco into a feeder street, which is hardwired into the substation. What it does is, because they put in these taller poles, which are about a little over 10 feet taller, the power lines are more above the palm trees that are there right now. Should provide more stable power, fewer power blips, or as we used to call it in Colorado, dirty power. But and because it's hardwired into the substation, it is a more constant source of power. They didn't come to the homeowners and say, what do you want? So that's the real, I think, the beef, because now it's much more visible.
Sure.
I don't know if it will be as visible once they remove the old poles, because they're still in, most of those are still in place. What?
I say there were not any poles there between Tripoli and,
Well, that's true. There were no poles at one, and they put these big concrete, as people call them, obelisks in. And at the corner of Monaco and Madrid, there's also now a big concrete pole, which there was not one before, so.
Excuse me, don't we have a liaison with Florida Power and Light?
We do.
I think we need to have a meeting with her.
Yeah, because there's a big cluster over by the Veterans Park.
I mean,
The same-
there's going to be much more development
Right.
and much more building going on as we go into the future, and we need to get perhaps, again, someone that's going to be at least looking out and and advocating on our behalf, so.
That whole cluster on Nesbit is unsightly. I mean, it's, you look at it, it's.
I mean, if they can do whatever they want, then, but
Well,
it
it
would
can
be nice
happen in
if they would work
PGI
with
as
the.
well. That's why I'm saying, PGI beware, because it can happen to you just as well as it can happen anywhere.
Oh, and yes, we should have underground as well, I believe.
Mhm.
That's my view. Any other comments from citizens? Please come to the podium. You need to come to the podium, sir.
Citizens' comments?
Yes,
Yes.
please come to the podium. State your name, have 3 minutes.
My name is Edwin C. Baker. I live at 285 Battle Harbor Boulevard. And I would like to address the council and especially the city manager. I got a small problem, but to somebody that's involved with my problem, it's a big problem. Just shut that phone off, honest to God. The guy behind me knows I shut it off. Forgive me for that. Guess I didn't hold the button long enough. I have only lived in a community about 10 years, but I've been coming down here for years. I had friends on Suzie and some other streets down here we used to visit over the years. Being that we're all boaters, we feel as if being a boating community, I especially feel that being that I'm a mechanic, I'm not looking to do business on anybody else's boat, just my own. However, why and how did the original code compliance permit go from, I think, years ago, it was 13 days, then they down to, I believe, to 7, and now it's down to 2.
For what, sir? What are you
And
specifically referring to? What are you specifically referring to?
if a maintenance permit from the code compliance office in order to repair things. And if you're not mechanical, you don't understand what the guy goes through to fix something. But I've lived with it for 55 years. I'm an expert at it, master mechanic, and I like to do my own service. They also changed something along the way that you could have your boat in your backyard, which is virtually impossible in Punta Gorda Isles. How do you get down between the houses? I mean, that was kind of a stupid thing originally, let's face it. There's no way you can get your boat trailer down in there anyway. So why have a law that would permit you to have it in your backyard? So what can be done for people like me that need a little bit longer than 2 days?
Are you talking about working on your boat in your yard or on the water?
I'm talking about, in this case, working on the boat and the trailer. I come from Massachusetts, and it's a long ride, and sometimes you need maintenance
So,
on the wheels.
You have your boat on a trailer, is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
Or your car.
Excuse me, dear?
Is it your car or your boat?
No, no, my boat
Oh, okay.
and my trailer.
Where is your boat and trailer located on your property?
Right now, it's in my backyard because there's a vacant lot next to me. And I do have a 2-day permit. But my problem is, I don't think I can complete what I have to do in 2 days.
Sir, I guess the other option would be to take it to a boatyard and to work on it in a boatyard. We don't allow maintenance unless your boat is in the water. Is there an opportunity to put your boat in the water to work on it?
Okay, the boat, I can get through the boat problem. The problem is the trailer right now. And may have to replace an axle. Well, they don't sell them in Kmart or Walmart. You gotta order one. You can't tow the trailer when it's apart.
Can this gentleman get a waiver, a variance, something to allow him to? Ms. Tubbs?
For the record, Terry Tubbs, zoning official. when, from time to time, we do come across residents that do have extenuating circumstances, you know, if in fact the trailer has a broken axle and cannot be moved, the code does not give us the authority to give him a permit. However, we do notify the police department of the extenuating circumstance and that the property owner will be removing whatever it is, you know, as soon as is possible. And we leave that note, you know, within the system so that we know what occurred and when it occurred, so it's not a constant.
Okay, but you cannot keep your boat in your backyard. That is obviously something that cannot be done.
Correct.
My boat is on my list now.
Oh, good. Okay, so it's your trailer
Right.
then.
I might address my next question to this lady here. When and how did that 13-day permit or whatever it was originally, and then 7-day permit, when was that changed to 2 days and why?
I'm guessing on the year, I'm thinking approximately 2007, 2008. The reason it was changed was in 1981, the city council adopted an ordinance that allowed for boat maintenance for 15 days, twice a year, once every 6 months, and the watercraft did have to be stored in the rear yard. You've got to remember, in 1981, we weren't at build-out. There were vacant lots all over the place, so getting in the rear yard for that maintenance was not an issue. When the code was amended, due to the fact that, you know, the permits we were issuing were illegal and people couldn't get their boats in the rear yard, there was discussion about boat maintenance in the driveways and how long they needed to be there. The purpose for allowing the boats to be in the driveway, as was discussed during the amendment of the ordinance, was allow people to load them up, prepare for an outing, maybe minor you know, cleanings and that sort of thing, but they did not, they specifically stated that they did not want mechanical work and other work done, and they limited it to the 2-day period, which could not be combined.
There was an extensive amount of public hearing on this.
Excuse me, sir?
There was a lot of public hearing on this.
I
the
probably
city-
was up north at the time.
But the city council at the time took this on, and you live in the special residential area, you live in Punta Gorda Isles, and they have stricter standards than some other areas of the city, just like Burnstone Isles do. And that was one of the issues that was raised, and the city council, through the public hearing process, limited it.
So if you need some additional assistance, then you can see maybe Ms. Tubbs after the meeting. Okay?
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
that's what I get to live with.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to make a comment on any issues? Bring it before the city council? Anything else, council members?
If not,
Meeting is adjourned.
Yeah, I think this phone is larger because